Good evening and welcome to the Board of Education meeting for Greeley-Evans School District 6 on August 24th, 2026. This meeting will now come to order. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Lemon, will you please call the roll?
Director Zari.
Present.
Director Bentley.
Present.
Director Campos-Fitzy.
Present.
Director Edmonds.
Present.
Director Lemus-Garcia.
Present.
Director Mash.
Present.
Director Rogie.
Present.
All board members present.
Thank you. Well, our last meeting was on the first day of school, and so now 2 weeks in, kids have been learning for 2 weeks. They've been eating breakfast and lunch. They've been riding the bus. We've even had some athletic events already. But today I just wanted to give a shout out to our transportation team. Not only did they run all their regular routes to get everyone to school, but they had to pivot and add some routes to accommodate all of our high school students. So we so appreciate their ability to work quickly and to find solutions. Our kindergartners learned how to ride the bus last Thursday. We have a fully staffed transportation team. We have 4 new buses on the way. I'm not sure if everyone knows that, but that's exciting. And so we want to give a big thank you to our team, but also to our voters. Without the mill levy override, we wouldn't be able to have afforded some of the new buses that we have. And it gave us the ability to pay our bus drivers well and to recruit and to keep them here in District 6. So thank you to everyone who's getting our students to school safely and on time. And we're just continuing to be excited to see where this year takes us. Now we will approve the agenda.
I move to amend today's meeting agenda to move the presentation of the facilities master plan by Airbnb architects from today's work session into today's business meeting, placing it under special items. Following the approval of today's agenda, this amendment is a continuation of the facilities master plan summary already properly noticed and partially addressed during today's work session due to the availability of the presenter.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Ms. Lemon, will you please give us a vote?
Director Zari.
Aye.
Director Bentley.
Aye.
Director Campos-Fitzy.
Aye.
Director Edmonds.
Aye.
Director Lemus-Garcia.
Aye.
Director Mash.
Aye.
Director Rogie.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
I move that the Board of Education of Greeley-Evans School District 6 approves the agenda as presented, incorporating the previously approved amendment.
I second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, Ms. Lemon, will you please give us a vote?
Director Zari.
Aye.
Director Bentley.
Aye.
Director Campos-Fitzy.
Aye.
Director Edmonds.
Aye.
Director Lemus-Garcia.
Aye.
Director Mash.
Aye.
Director Rogie.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. And that brings us right in to our special items. And so I'll ask Mr. Kent Henson to bring up our architects, and we're excited for this presentation.
Hi, Dr. Pilch, President Mash and the Board of Education. Happy tonight to introduce the architect team of Airbnb, who we've worked with over the last year since the summer of 2025 on our next facility master plan. The last plan that we completed was in the 2018-2019 school year. So it was a great opportunity for us after the last bond issue to come back and reassess our buildings, maybe set some new goals, look at it through our facilities with a different lens. And so tonight, what they'd like to do is give you a very high overview of the product that they will be delivering to us, really have delivered to us. It's over 1,700 pages, and they'll just show you some of the highlights of that, which we'll be able to use. So Airbnb.
Thank you, Kent. My name is Matt Arabaz, and I'm a principal architect with RB+B, and just appreciate the opportunity to speak with the board this evening. My 2 colleagues will present the materials that we've been working on over the last year.
Brianne Smith, my role on the project was project manager, and also I was responsible for the physical assessments of the actual buildings.
Hi, Jeff Gaines. My role on the project was assessing educational adequacy and working on site planning.
So as Ken said, we were hired to look at not only the physical buildings of your district, but also to understand how that could be beneficial to you in the future, what we can do to help you guys plan for investment as you guys move forward. And we look at these in three ways: the actual physical condition of the building, the educational adequacy of those facilities, and then also the demographics and the changing population of your community. We assessed 30 academic buildings, 5 district facilities, and then 8 charter school facilities. So we had a very broad overview of all the buildings in your district. Our purpose was to make sure that this was not superfluous, but really that it was a very meaningful assessment of your buildings, that it was useful to you, that people could understand the information, and it would allow you guys to make really educated decisions moving forward about your buildings. We wanted to start with the energy from your 2019 bond. This is the vision statement of your 2019 bond program, emphasizing sustainability, flexibility, cultural awareness, community partnerships, safety and security, technology. And so these were really important aspects to us to make sure that we continue to move that momentum through your future planning. And from an outsider's perspective, I have to say the 2019 bond was incredibly successful. You guys were really able to accomplish so much. Really every dollar felt like it went to a really useful place, and you got a lot of bang for your buck. So first thing would just be kudos to you guys for your accomplishments through that bond program. I would also like to say we were just really impressed with your facility staff. Their passion for taking care of these buildings and making sure kids are going to school in great spaces was really admirable. We honestly don't always see that in every district that we work with. So I did want to give a shout out to them. It was really impressive. Just a high level overview. We started this process with overarching district-wide standards, understanding the district's future vision and goals. Then phase 2 was to look at each facility individually and really analyze it. And now we're in phase 3, which is this outreach, education to the community, helping people to understand the information that we gathered. So in talking to the district in that first phase, we spoke with facility staff, safety and security, education, technology, and the nutrition group, and wanted to help understand what was really important at a district level. This meant that when we visited each facility, we all had the same yardstick. We were all measuring the facilities equally so that we could really evaluate whether or not each facility was meeting your needs in all these different pieces, and we hadn't missed anything. Then, like I said, we went to a facility specific. So we typically met on Wednesdays. Before we would meet, we would reach out to the principal for a survey, have them fill out an online survey that helped us to understand their perspective of the facility. Then we would meet with your facility staff and go through their understanding of work orders and issues they're facing and their knowledge of the facility. Then we would all walk it together. And then we would take that information and temper it with the Colorado Department of Education's assessment of your facility. So quite a bit of information. Like Ken said, this is a large document with a lot of data. And so that's where that kind of importance on clarity and usefulness. How do we get that information out so that you can understand your buildings better?
And I'll talk through a few of the key pieces of information for each of the facilities, which are the facility condition index, our facility adequacy index, and the utilization index. So these are kind of nuts and bolts measures of each building. I already see some kind of big eyes, but we'll kind of just at a high level walk through what these metrics mean, because they are an important kind of measurement across all of the facilities in the district. So the first facility condition index, or FCI, is a metric that looks at just the physical condition of the building. And it's the cost to repair a system or the building as a whole, divided by the cost to just replace that system or building with new. This is a kind of a standardized Colorado Department of Education metric and scale. And our work was to build on the assessments that CDE has done of each of the facilities, to update that measure where applicable, where work has occurred since the last time CDE made an assessment. I'll just talk about this scale really quickly, which is this kind of gradated line that goes from green to red here. And essentially a building has to be in really great condition to be in the excellent category, which is that first really small green sliver where it has just very little in the way of needs. It's an almost new building. That scale kind of pretty quickly grows into good, and then fair, and then poor, and then above 0.6 on the scale, replace condition. So within the district, buildings are kind of distributed across this scale, and newer facilities that were completed under the last bond obviously are in the excellent category. And then as buildings get older, they tend to fall into the poor or replacement category under the CDE scale. The next metric that we looked at here, Facility Adequacy Index, is specific to District 6. So this is where we met with your leadership in education and facilities, and we heard what's important to the district in each of the buildings. And just to walk through some of these categories, under kind of educational functionality, learning spaces, no modulars is a really important consideration in buildings. STEM and CTE programming, especially growing offerings at middle and high school. Educational support spaces, so how the building supports everything beyond just learning in the classroom, because your schools do so much for kids and offer so much in the way of services. Outdoor spaces, how is the site functioning? How is the building functioning for nutrition? Safety and security was a big area of emphasis. So looking at the site, how are vehicles able to use the site in a safe way? How are pedestrians able to use the site in a safe way, separated from traffic? Is the site fenced off so that everywhere kids are during the day, they're in a secure space? Within the building, do the classrooms offer concealment? Does the building have a secure vestibule? And a few other kind of more minute details. Does the door between the office and the building lock? Are the exterior doors equipped with sensors to alert if they're left open? Are cameras up to date? Is the alarm system up to date? And then last, we looked at a number of systems in the building. Are technology systems up to date? Does the gym have air conditioning? The kitchen have air conditioning? How are the restrooms in the building? That's a really important area in a lot of the buildings in the district currently. And together, for each of these areas, we again looked at a scale that goes from kind of green to red on this gradated scale, from good to poor for any given facility. And then the last really important metric that we looked at is the utilization index. So this is a measure of how fully enrolled the building is. And we took a tailored approach to this, where we took every building in the district and we looked at what level that building serves, how the building is laid out, what spaces are available, how many classrooms are available, and we established a capacity for that building. And under this metric, we compare that capacity to how many students are currently enrolled at the building. So buildings can range from under-enrolled to kind of properly enrolled, and then up to over-enrolled. The other really important piece with this metric is that we were focused on looking at the permanent building. So if a building has modulars, they don't count as permanent building capacity. So we make this kind of a consistent metric across the district. Just to look at a couple of example buildings really quickly that show the kind of range of what we found. Each of our building assessments starts with this summary page that talks about utilization, facility condition, and facility adequacy. This first example, Krista McAuliffe, is a building that saw major improvements under the last bond. So the building used to have a lot of modulars on site. They were replaced with a large addition to the building and a major renovation. At the same time, it's a mixed building that still contains an older wing. So here, looking at facility condition and adequacy, we see a lot of green, things that are working really well. And then we see some areas still for improvement at the facility that are kind of orange and red on the summary. Under program capacity and utilization, McAuliffe is a school that's fully enrolled. So essentially the school is at 100% of capacity. As we go further into each of the reports, we've got a more detailed overview, and then we've got a series of, anywhere from dozens to close to 100 assessment items found for that facility. This next example, to show something that's kind of on the other end of the spectrum in the district, is Brentwood Middle School. So this is an older building. It's been added on to multiple times. It's on a tricky site that has a number of challenges, and the school still has modular classrooms. So here, looking at the condition of the facility and the functional adequacy, we see a lot more red, so a lot more needs for this facility to improve its condition and to make it fully functional for district needs. Under utilization on the first page, this is a building that does have modulars. So without those modulars, the permanent building, the bricks and mortar building, would be over-enrolled. We couldn't fit all of those students in the permanent building. Just to step back and talk about the district as a whole, like Brianne said, in walking with 2.5 million square feet of space in your buildings, something that was clear across all of the buildings was just what great care facility staff is taking of those buildings and the pride in the buildings. It was also clear that major improvements have been made in every facility in the district under the last bond. So when we look at the district as a whole in the FCI column, District 6 is actually significantly better than the state of Colorado average for the condition of its facilities. Another takeaway in looking at all the buildings in the district was that major improvements have been made to K-8 schools. So there are several new K-8 schools in the district following the last bond. And when we look at the district's portfolio of schools, it's elementary and middle schools now that are the oldest schools with the highest needs for their facilities. So moving forward, that'll be an important consideration for the district in making improvements. And just to kind of wrap up and recap, needs that we see in the district and also heard from district staff are improvements to safety and security at many of the buildings. Career and technical education is a real strength in the district, but there's opportunities to build on it, especially at middle and high school levels. Special education and preschool programs being introduced into each neighborhood school was another need that we discussed with staff. Meeting teacher needs. Then under the kind of physical buildings, removing modulars is a really important emphasis that is important for a number of reasons. Improving building infrastructure. Historic preservation is important in the district. There are several facilities, especially Greeley Central, but also Fred Chardes, that are just wonderful buildings that are beloved by the community, but also need significant investment moving forward. There are also some buildings that, based on their condition and the way they function, would be good candidates for replacement in the future. And then last, just making sure that the needs of every facilities department are well met in a facility so that they're easy to run. So with that, we'll conclude our portion of the presentation. We're happy to take any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I always enjoy hearing compliments of our staff, obviously, and we do know that there's a lot of pride in each of our buildings, no matter their age, and we're helping them to be the best that they can be. But it's also fun to hear you understand our community and our buildings through the lens of architecture. So thank you very much. Looks like Director Azari has a comment.
Yeah, I just have one question, and I should have asked this one earlier this evening of Mr. Hanson and probably the superintendent. When we see buildings that are in the red primarily, like Brentwood, and there might be 2 or 3 others around the district that fall in that category, does that mean that those buildings are not a healthy place for the kids and staff? Does that have anything to do with health and safety of the students?
No, that's not a direct reflection of health and safety. It's comparing the cost of a new system versus the cost of replacement and getting to a point where replacing isn't maybe in the district's best financial interest. And so having that understanding that you can continue to fix the building and it will continue to function, but you may be throwing good dollars after bad. So it's just a way of understanding the systems. We did not find any buildings that we felt were unhealthy or weren't, unsafe. Yeah.
That's good to hear. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Edmonds?
Thank you so much for the presentation. Kent and team did a good job pitching at the work session, but it's also nice to get it from another angle and hear it again, because 1,700 pages is a lot to go through. First, I just want to say thank you to our facilities team. It's a lot of work to maintain what we have, and seeing the balance. I saw it the first time we saw it, and seeing it here again, of just seeing how great our district is for being to work with what we have. So to have a lot of green and that we're utilizing the space we have, but that there's a lot of red, and so there's a lot of opportunity for us to make improvements. But even seeing in this report, I'm actually excited. I'm kind of excited to see the report, just to see the green and all the good we did with the last bond issue. And so community really had a great hand in us being better off now than we would have been had we not had that bond issue and you guys came in and did this report. I think we'd be seeing a lot more red across the board. So I'm kind of curious, or more of just a continued statement of just looking at how this is an opportunity for us to be good stewards of what we have, but it seems like there's a lot of things that are on the horizon that as we go, we asked this question in the work session, or made this point that things are getting more expensive. So just that we're kind of at a critical point that as we take this information that we have, that we're gonna need to start making a plan with it, or at least have something on paper. And so there's some things that will just continue to be more on the horizon of what we need to be moving forward. So you have a school like Brentwood, we need to be asking questions of, is it ideal that we keep putting Band-Aids on it, or do we need to eventually look at the possibility of replacing it? Because that was a pretty stark contrast. Was Brentwood probably would you say Brentwood was the one that was like on the furthest red scale?
That's right, yeah, out of all the schools in the district.
So that's kind of just a question we got to continue to weigh as we look at this information. I was curious to know how do we measure up with other districts? Like, do you guys do this for most of the districts in the state, or does it seem like we're kind of on the same track as a lot of other districts, or what are we facing that other districts might also be?
Well, I guess one thing I can chime in with is that this district has a really good sense of priorities. So we've identified needs throughout the district, but our ability to do that comes from the district having clear priorities for what each facility should have. And that, that level of organization is really a great asset for planning improvements.
I agree. I think we have some pretty good vision here. All right, thank you so much.
Director Campos-Spitzy.
First, I apologize for having to step out, but I'm on double duty. I'm also on call for my clinic. But because I received a lot of the presentation at our work session, Kent highlighted that when Greeley West High School was built, that per square foot it cost about $450, where today it would cost $660 per square foot to do the same renovation that was done in Greeley West, at Greeley West, and highlighted some of the positive things that came out of the bond, like getting rid of 68% of the trailers or modules with that last bond. Apparently, and you probably highlighted this at this presentation, but that 16 were removed just for McAuliffe alone, which is impressive. And we talked about how this conversation is the beginning of starting to prioritize and then starting to talk about next steps as far as a bond measure. And a lot of our job as the board is to decide when would be a good time to ask our community for another bond. But one thing I think that stood out that Kent said at our work session, he said, unfortunately, the only way to beat inflation is to not wait, right? And so I think for us as a board, while we definitely have to weigh the favorability of a bond with our community and our taxpayers, the inflation doesn't wait. And so thank you so much for the presentation and yeah, for condensing those 1,700 pages into usable and meaningful and inspiring information. And yeah, thank you guys.
Director Lemos Garcia.
I also want to thank you for the presentation. I appreciate most how you explained the details and the definitions. As someone like myself who might not understand fully what I'm getting into, and how you presented it in the graphs, and I'm visual, so the color for me was appreciative. I appreciate how you presented it verbally as well, just helping us understand more fully and what we're going to dive into. I am also excited to be able to understand how our schools are set up and what our needs are for our district, and just your helping hand in helping us understand that moving forward. So thank you.
Well, again, thank you for being here. Thank you for the many hours of work and all the time you spent at each building. And yeah, we look forward to hearing how the priorities kind of settle out. And I just want to once again want to thank Mr. Henson. You beautifully managed our first bond, and I totally agree that it went so far. It touched every building, and absolutely made each building safe and secure for our students. And now we just really want to elevate those learning spaces in the other buildings that are vintage and retro. And I hope in architecture school they talk about the dangers of round buildings, or at least for education, because we tried that. Let's not do that again. But yeah, thank you very much for being here. Our next item on our agenda is our superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Mash. Good evening. I have a few things I wanted to share. First, as Director Campos-Spitzy mentioned in the work session, we rolled out Zello, which is a platform for students and parents and staff to utilize that really keeps track of all things personalized learning for students. And so you all remember, those of you who've been on the board for a while, remember years of talking about personalized learning plans, an individual plan for every student in the district. And this platform truly allows us to do that, and allows families to see what their student's plan is and what their student is working on. And also, as a part of Zello, we are able to work with businesses and
record those businesses as well in there that we're working with, the internships. And so you heard a brief presentation on this with Lisa Hudson and Dagan Andrews here in the springtime. But once we get about mid-year, we'll come back again and give you an update on Zello. But really excited. I hope that parents will check out that email. It came from our communications department. There is a YouTube video in there that is also really useful. So I hope you get a chance to take a look at that. And then I know that we've had some conversations about artificial intelligence. I just wanted to share with you that Chief Information Officer Tony Check and I are going to participate in a webinar tomorrow that's a part of the Chiefs for Change network that I'm in nationally. They're offering a webinar on artificial intelligence and the data that we should be considering and looking at and really best practices around artificial intelligence. So we'll see what comes of that and share more information with you in the future. I too just want to say huge kudos to our transportation department. Transportation is one of those things that a decade ago, we often had public speakers this time of year in our board meeting concerned about transportation and our inability to deliver services because we didn't have the drivers and we didn't have the buses. And now today we have the buses and we have the drivers and we actually have a bus shortage because we want to run more routes. So really proud of transportation. President Mash, thank you for recognizing them. And then finally, school performance data. You all received the school performance assessment data this past Friday. And if you'd like a meeting with me individually to walk through that, I'm happy to do that with you. We will get the school performance frameworks, we're told, on Wednesday, which is that grade that the school gets, that we hold our breath and wait for. That really ranks our schools and tells us how we're doing in comparison to other schools in the state of Colorado. So we'll have that data for you later this week. There's some highlights I want to point out though in the preliminary data that we've already received. We're pretty excited about what we're seeing in fourth and fifth grade with English language arts. We saw a 5% increase in the percentage of students moving into the meets or exceeds ranking on the Colorado Measures of Academic Success. Unfortunately, third grade is still pretty flat in both English language arts and mathematics, which tells us that the literacy work we're doing in K1, 2, and 3 is the right work and really the next level of work that we need to do in relation to our literacy achievement. Middle schools, different from the past couple of years, were pretty flat. We had some highlights there where some of our middle schools were performing really well, but when you look at the middle school data across the district, we did not see much of a change in that data. So we'll be digging in deeper there to see what might be going on there in both language arts and math. Math, we saw a slight improvement in 6th and 8th grade. We did see some improvement in mathematics. The really good news is high school. When we look at our SAT test, which is those are our juniors in high school, and they are tested in mathematics and English both. And when we look at the SAT results, we are anywhere from 5 to 7 percentage points, or not percentage points, higher on our mean score than what we were last year. That's statistically significant and really a dramatic improvement. And then PSAT, which is taken in 9th and 10th grades, we saw an increase ranging from 9 to 21 points in the mean score, depending on the subject area you were looking at. So you'll see that data in the assessment report you received last week, but these are big gains at the high school level. And I want to give a big shout out to our high schools for realizing those kind of gains. And I'll say what I always say to our principals: that doesn't just happen at high school. That is a combination and a culmination of the work that has occurred K through 8 before they hit those high school doors, and they do that work at high school. So we do know that our younger grades are preparing our students more than we've prepared them in the past, or we wouldn't be seeing those kind of results. So I'm happy again to meet with you individually. And I can bring in other members of the team who are more closely involved with this data than what I am. Just let Amy know if you'd like a meeting around the assessment data. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Pilch. Our next item on our agenda is our Innovation 2030 Strategic Plan Update for Student Learning and Achievement, Goal 2, Community Schools.
Good evening, President Mash, members of the board, Dr. Pilch. My name is Anthony Osmus. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Elementary and K-8 Leadership, and we're excited to present an update on community schools, our systematic, high-impact strategy for supporting our highest need schools. Joining me tonight is Brian Lemos, our Director of Multi-Learning and Family Engagement. Sadly, David Reyes, our Assistant Director of the Family Center and Cultural Excellence, is not here. He has a sick child, so darn. Brian will be great. He's really an expert. Brian and David are both experts at this. They're attending workshops across the state and leading this work not only here, but also across the state. So kudos to them both. And also in attendance tonight is Angie McDowell, the principal at Centennial, and Ramon Reyes, the principal at Maplewood. In case they have any questions on school-based, they would be more than happy to answer those. Everything we do in District 6 is grounded in our mission and vision, where we engage every student in a personalized, well-rounded, and excellent education, preparing students to be college and career ready. In our vision, where District 6 engages, empowers, and inspires today's students in partnership with families and communities to succeed in tomorrow's world. And that really resonates tonight. Community schools is a direct reflection of our district values, and it's connected to 3 commitments: believing every child will achieve, building strong relationships with our students, families, and community, and ensuring access, opportunity, and choice across District 6. Our strategic plan is comprehensive and captures all of our district work, and it has 4 focus areas. Community schools is grounded in student learning and achievement, where we continue to prepare every student to be college and career ready. This work aligns squarely under Goal 2, delivering consistent research-based curriculum, assessment, and instruction across all classrooms so that every student can learn and thrive. And to achieve our outcome, where every school is at performance, we must have a plan that offers direction and support to maximize our achievement. We're aligning grade level targets directly with our curriculum, state standards, and very rigorous assessments, so teachers have the tools they need for high quality instructional planning so they can deliver effective instruction that supports every student's success. To ensure our community schools are on the right track, we will monitor 2 critical measures: student attendance and academic growth. Specifically, our strategy targets a 4-point annual increase in our students' median growth percentile, also known as MGP, in both English language arts and mathematics on yearly CMAS growth reports. Now, in the state growth report models, an MGP of 50 represents typical growth or about a year's growth. Because our community schools are not yet at an MGP of 50, achieving this 4-point annual increase is critical to get our students back to a year's growth every single year. Now, this is growth, but we also need to look at 3rd grade CMAS on achievement in both mathematics and reading. So we'll also be tracking that as well, but growth is what we are measuring, is one of the things that we're measuring. To reach our attendance and academic growth goals, we'll be providing targeted supports to students and families. First, we'll be providing additional after-school tutoring time and dedicated parent guidance for homework support, as well as collaborating directly with our local partners to meet the needs of our most vulnerable District 6 students and families with clothing, food, and other necessities. This is all made possible with the support of the Well Trust, our mill levy override, 21st Century Grant, and our Success Foundation. To go a little deeper, I'll turn this over to Mr. Lemos.
Getting a little older, gotta get my glasses on. The community school model brings together the rigorous, supportive learning environments, family engagement, and strong community partnerships to support the success of the whole child. By connecting students and families with resources, relationships, and opportunities they need, community schools help remove barriers to learning, strengthen engagement, and create sustainable pathways for student success. At its core, the work is about bringing our schools and communities together to ensure that every student and family has the support and opportunities necessary to thrive. Over the next 2 years, 5 schools will implement community school strategies, with each school progressing at a pace that reflects its unique needs, readiness, and community context. Maplewood is entering its second year, building on the foundation that was established during exploration and installation, and beginning to move into initial implementation. It is important to note that the phases are fluid. Schools may move between phases as they assess progress, respond to emerging needs, and continuously strengthen their approach. As you can see in this slide, we have the implementation, the exploration, installation, and where each school is at. So the community school, over the next 2 years, 5 schools will implement the community school strategies, as I talked about. And the schools are Maplewood, Centennial, James Madison, Bella, Romero, and Scott. What we will measure are 4 key areas. We'll measure success through improved student attendance through increased average daily attendance, accelerate student achievement through significant growth in math and reading median growth percentiles, as Anthony talked about, strengthening family engagement by increasing meaningful family participation in partnerships, and build sustainability by developing systems, partnerships, and funding strategies that extend the work beyond the initial implementation. The community partnerships and support through strong community partnerships and families can access healthcare, mental and behavioral services, food resources, and other basic needs directly at school or through connected community resources. These partnerships also help families build skills, access opportunities, and strengthen economic stability, independence, and overall well-being. It truly takes a village to support students and families to achieve academic excellence. Next, I'll share the key components of the community school and our implementation progress to date of building the foundation for sustainable community schools in our district. The first one is a community school manager. Each school has hired dedicated community school managers to lead implementation, coordinate partnerships, and connect students and families with resources and opportunities. The second one is the braiding and blending of funding, aligned and leveraging multiple funding sources to maximize resources and support sustainable implementation, including the blending and braiding of resources such as the Well Trust Grant, Title I allocations, 21st Century Community Learning dollars, and the Mill Levy override dollars. Our approach is to align people, partnerships, and resources around the unique needs of each school by creating sustainable systems that support student success, family engagement, and stronger communities, while also meeting each grant's priorities and reporting expectations. The other key components are our councils. That's where we get our input from our families, our teachers, our parents, and community partners. The community school councils are unique in that they create a shared leadership and vision and meaningful engagement. The Family Council creates opportunities for families to share their voice, identify priorities, and help school-based supports and activities. The Instructional Council brings educators together to connect community school efforts with instructional priorities, student needs, and school improvement goals. The third council, the Parent Council, strengthens parent leadership and engagement by ensuring families have a meaningful role in planning, decision-making, and building a strong community. And the last one is a community council, which engages community partners and organizations to align resources, services, and opportunities with the needs identified by students, families, and the school. Together, these councils create a shared leadership structure where schools, families, educators, and community partners work together to identify needs, align resources, and advance student success. So what are the 5 pillars? Our community schools approach is built on 5 interconnected pillars that create the conditions for students and families to thrive. Together, these pillars strengthen relationships, expand opportunities, elevate shared voice, and connect students and families to supports they need to achieve success academically. The first one is powerful student-family engagement. Students and families are active partners in shaping the school community priorities and decisions. The second pillar, collaborative leadership, shared voice, and decision-making. School leaders, staff, students, families, and community partners work together to identify needs, develop solutions, make decisions together, and reflect on the voices of the community. The third pillar, expanded and enriched learning opportunities. Students have access to meaningful academic enrichment, extracurricular activities, and extended learning opportunities that support the whole child. The fourth pillar, culture of belonging and safety. Our students have to feel safe. So schools and community partners work together to connect students and families with coordinated with coordinated efforts to make sure that they feel like they belong, that their culture is valued, that what they bring to the table is heard, and that it is of value. Diversity is a value, just like in our mission. And the last one is integrated systems of support. Schools and community partners work together to connect students and families with coordinated academic health, mental health, behavioral, and basic needs. Together, these pillars move us from individual programs to a coordinated system of support, creating stronger schools, stronger families, and stronger communities. I'm going to go into each pillar a little bit deeper. And as this next slide, pillar one, powerful student-family engagement. Families and students are partners in decision-making. Families' lived experience inform approaches to student success. But it's much like a kaleidoscope. Most of us are familiar with the kaleidoscope. It's beautiful. Its beauty comes from bringing different pieces together. Each turn creates a new pattern, yet every piece matters. In much the same way, every family brings unique perspectives, cultures, strengths, and experiences. When students and families, schools, and community partner together, those individual pieces align to create something stronger than anyone could achieve alone. Like a kaleidoscope, family engagement transforms individual voices into a shared vision, where every perspective brings new insight and every family matters. The second pillar is collaborative leadership and shared power. Here, we co-create the building itself, where we have partners, and we create a culture of trust, professional learning, and shared responsibility, where staff, families, students, and community partners have meaningful opportunities to shape decisions and priorities within the school. We can do this a couple ways. One, through formal voice, by taking surveys, getting input from our leadership teams, our community school councils, and structured feedback opportunities. The second one is through our informal conversations, which happen at the stores, at community gatherings, while we're doing relationship building and everyday conversations. When every voice is valued, shared leadership leads to stronger decisions and stronger outcomes for students and families. The third pillar, expanded and enriched learning opportunities. There's three main areas. Supporting learning at home is one example, by encouraging parents to understand the importance of having dedicated spaces, time, and resources for their students to learn and how they can engage in that learning with them. The second one is expanded learning opportunities for our adults. One example is our partnership with the Ames Community College currently, providing GED opportunities and transportation to and from Ames. And lastly, the extended student support through after-school programs that provide targeted interventions, enrichment, and additional learning time for students who need it most. Those are just a few examples of the things we're doing, but we have many more that are happening. And I talked a little bit about the fourth pillar, about that culture of belonging, and I'm going to go deeper into the fifth pillar, which is aligning our resources to effectively provide services to both the student and family. And this is really critical because in the last couple years or year, we've been engaged in some cross-integration of departments. And we connect schools, families, community partners, and district departments so resources work together, not in isolation, to meet the whole needs of students and families. Through cross-department collaboration and an asset-based approach, we align resources, reduce barriers, and build on the strengths of every student and family. When we work as one connected system, we create a stronger pathway to student success and family well-being. Right now, because I'm on Pillar 5, I'd like to recognize a few folks. This work is possible because of the shared commitment and collaboration of our district and community partners. We want to extend our sincere appreciation to the Weld Trust for its $1.8 million investment in our community schools initiative and its commitment to equitable access to healthy families and strong educational opportunities for all students and families in Weld County. I would also like to recognize Philip and Siri in the Finance Department for helping us meet grant expectations while identifying opportunities to braid and blend resources. Jennifer Clark, Coordinator of Health Services, Kara Sample, Assistant Director of Nutrition Services, Chad and Salma in Transportation, Kent with Operations, and lastly, Julie Hill from the Success Foundation. These are just a few folks and examples of the cross-department collaboration that is helping bring the vision to life. This is what it means to be a community school, coming together, aligning our resources, and collectively investing in the success of every student and every family in District 6. So what's next? The next steps are to finalize targeted support models to accelerate achievement across key student subgroups, establish early intervention pathways to improve overall student attendance, formalize community partnerships and site-based leadership structures to deepen family involvement, and embed consensus-based decision-making models to ensure lasting impact. That concludes our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Director Edmonds.
Thank you so much for that presentation. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, David. Thank you to everyone who's makes these community schools possible. I can tell you from my professional experience how crucial a system like this is. We recently did a service area assessment at the food bank, and we determined that the best place that you can reach the entire family is at school. And you've got faith-based places as well, but to best serve the whole family, you need the school. And so having a model like this, and I just love these 5 pillars that obviously wanting to have the student be the center of it, but having these things like family and instructional and parent and community councils are just so important, especially as we look to the future, as we look to what's coming down the pipeline. I hate to balance out the joy of what I'm seeing with these community schools, but as we have the impact of the passage of HR 1 and the loss of funding for SNAP and the loss of funding for Medicaid and the things that are going to impact a lot of the families in our district. I mean, we've got the food bank we serve, 76% of the people we serve are at or below federal poverty level. We've got a lot of that in our schools as well. So they're going to be depending on their teachers even more. And so I'd love to see this community-based model in all of our schools. I mean, I know it takes funding, it takes planning, it takes community school managers. But I just tip my hat to the work that is done. I love partnering and being able to go to Centennial. I'm so great to see you guys coming on board with this model. I was actually kind of surprised that you weren't there from the beginning. So there's pieces in place there already. We've got teachers and administrators who care and love our students and their families. I started to get a little emotional seeing the parts where you have in there of providing resume writing for the parents and English classes and things to bring the parents on board where they want what's best for their kids, but they should be taken care of too. And so, again, I'm just excited to see as we see the growth in this. I mean, 5 schools, we got so many more that we'd love to bring on board. And I'm grateful to just be a little part of that with whatever we can do with the food bank and the partnership there to make sure that kids' bodies are fed so that their minds can be fed as well. So again, thank you so much for your time tonight and what you do every day that we don't get to see or hear about.
Director Azari.
Thanks, President Mash. Well, first of all, thanks to the community for coming together around this, especially Weld Food Bank and the Weld Trust for supporting this endeavor. I do have some questions, just some clarification. on behalf of the community. We know that Sunrise, at least I think Sunrise is located at Madison and Centennial. Are they also at any other sites in Salida del Sol? Okay, and then I was wondering about Bella Romero because it's far out east for those families. For the adult education classes, are those currently happening in our schools? Or is it just they go to Ames for that assistance?
Yeah, we don't offer that yet, Director Rosari, but we reach out to Ames, and Ames has an adult GED program, and so we're actually writing a grant with Ames right now to provide some supports for parents. And so the supports will provide transportation potentially from the school back over to Ames and back to the school. So that is one of the partnerships that we're just starting around the area to benefit our parents. And we know when our parents, when their life improves and they get a different job or something else happens, then our students benefit as well.
Right, I agree 100%. And then finally, to jump off of something that Mr. Edmonds said, are we planning to grow into other sites with this as we continue to? I know a lot of work needs to be done moving forward, but are there plans just from your perspective of us growing further into other schools?
There are a lot of positives inside of here, just the feedback and the partnership with the parents. And so there are some simple things that can grow and expand with all of the schools. We're gonna get really good at doing all this work with these 5 schools and just monitor and document all of the things that are working, and then those are the things that will expand into other schools. But we haven't really talked about that yet. We're just on year 1 really of a 3-year plan, but we're really good at taking things that work and applying them at different sites.
Right, okay, well, thank you.
Director Azari, ideally, we would have this in every one of our Title I schools. That would be the ideal model. It is a matter of resources,
Right.
both community resources and district resources, really. And so we're starting slowly with 2 schools this year, and then we're bringing on more schools the following 2 years, and then we'll reevaluate where we are in terms of resources.
All right, thanks, Dr. Pelch. Thank you, guys.
I think I would just add there are a few schools that already have laundry, and we're making our school pantries more and more robust. So I like that we have parts and pieces, and we'll see this total picture in 5 schools and see how we can expand. Director Campos-Spitzy?
Yes, I wanted to say how lucky are those 5 schools that we're starting with. I love the vision. I know it hasn't completely been implemented yet, but if we really could get those community supports, I often share that 2 things happened to change the trajectory of my family's life. And one was a change in our family's immigration status, and the other was my dad learning English. And it took us from a 1-bedroom apartment to a 3-bedroom house. And so I just think those family supports are so important. Also, just want to agree with Director Edmonds that schools are just trusted places, right? They're kind of the third space that we talk about in society where you might spend some extra time. And what a cool way to make these trusted spaces kind of a one-stop shop where parents could grow their English while learning how to be better parents and how to support their learners. I love the idea of the homework support and the additional time and kind of coaching parents through that. You started the presentation with outcomes, measures, and action steps, which I love. I want to see measurable improvements in those schools and with those students. So having that goal of increasing attendance and growth in ELA and math, and thank you, Anthony, for adding 3rd grade CMAS scores. The other part that I want to applaud about this model is that it's asset-based, right? Like, we sometimes go into schools or into communities that are under-resourced, low income, and we think about what we think they need and what are these communities' needs, rather than asking, number one, what are your needs, but also recognizing that these communities have a lot of assets. They are so resilient and eager to take advantage of opportunities. And these communities tend to be super hardworking communities, you know, parents who are working 2 jobs to make ends meet. And so just really having that asset-based approach and consensus-based approach for sustainability. I love that too, because if you impose what you think a community needs onto a community, it might only last a year. But if they come up with their ideas, and they're going to be good ideas that work for that specific community, it can be a very long-lasting, you can have a much more longer-lasting impact. So just love the idea of the parent councils and the family councils and that shared power and shared voice. And I could just keep going because this is like my favorite thing. But yes, also want to extend my gratitude because it takes dollars, and gratitude to the Well Trust for stepping up, and as well as all the other funding sources that we're directing towards.
Dr. Spitzy, I would like to lean into that. Each school is going to be a little bit different because we are approaching it through an asset base. What is it that's unique to that school? At some of the schools, we do have school-based, clinics, and so school-based clinics are important to Madison and to Maple or to Centennial. So that collaboration, that partnership is easy. What do we do outside of that for Maplewood? We're working through those things through partnerships, collective conversations, collaboration. How can we do that? And I think those are some of the challenges, are the medical, dental, health needs at certain sites that may be on site at other sites. So the needs assessment is so critical. The other thing that's important to understand is the mental health needs. Maybe for one school, it may be, a Eurocentric view of how we do mental health services. At another building, such as Centennial, Maplewood, could look different. Some of the things that they went through, the families, such as the trauma, being in refugee camps for a long time, what do we offer for them for their healing process? Are we doing groups? So those are a lot of different ideas where things could be different from school to school. And the needs-based assessment is very, very important. And it's also important for all of us to really, really recognize that it's vassal. From one implementation plan, from the exploration all the way to full implementation, we can go back to initial implementation. So it's just that patience and really getting the voices from our community members, our parents, our families, and students. So it's the flexibility of are the needs at those sites.
Director Rogi?
I just had a question. Sorry. Gosh, I have so struggle with the microphone. I had a question about understanding the family and parental involvement in the community schools, because I understand that, at least in my understanding, that is a lot of the problem with high need schools and high need families, is getting the parents to have the time and energy. So what is the mechanism besides the things that these community schools are offering in terms of services? Is there a mechanism or a plan of how to pull in these families and parents?
There is. That's why the councils are so important. I think the hardest piece in all of this is the release of decision-making and of our voice as leaders. As leaders and as districts, we're used to sometimes not always fully engaging and getting the voice of our families and our students and community partners. And we have some traditional models that we do that through. Through this, it's really the principals, Angie, and I would say Ramon and others that are going to embrace this, releasing that power and saying, how do we bring them to the table, make sure that they're partners in this. But the councils become very critical because we have parents on there and they know other folks and that networking opportunities. They can have conversations, the informal conversations, to say, when is the best time to do our family engagement opportunities? What are the key things that are going to get families in? So there's a lot of pieces that are very, very important. But the most powerful piece is really the release of that decision-making and really sharing that power. Because what we know is that families are connected within that community. A lot of times we don't live in the community that we serve, directly right there next to the building. But those families do. They know what they need. And they're also going to tell us when they're available, how they can be available, and who the key people are within that school community.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for the presentation. Thank you for answering all of our questions. I I can say that we're all very excited about this. And I think when the bond conversation comes up, that, additional school-based health centers and whatever additional spaces our schools might need will be part of that conversation. So, thank you very much. The next item on our agenda is our public participation. We do not have any speakers this evening. The next item is to approve our consent agenda.
I move that the Board of Education of Greeley-Evans School District 6 approves the items as presented on the consent agenda and authorizes the officers to sign any and all contracts.
I second that.
Any conversation on the motion? Seeing none, Ms. Lemon, would you please give us a vote?
Director Azari.
Aye.
Director Bentley.
Aye.
Director Campos-Spitzi.
Aye.
Director Edmonds.
Aye.
Director Lemos Garcia.
Aye.
Director Mash.
Aye.
Director Rogie.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Well, we have been enjoying so many celebrations in District 6. It's also fun to really be focused on the future and see where we're going next, as indicated by this meeting. But that is all the business we have. So we will see you next time. This meeting is adjourned.